Okay, everybody. So thank you for joining tonight. We don't have two people here, but hopefully next week they will be back. And also Nilsi, I hope that she will be back next week. Let's see if we can
Okay.
maybe change for Monday.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us, Esila, since you were going to talk about what you did
Connections.
in this week, connection, what happened with you?
Connection is a big subject. Is a is a good subject to talk because for me, connection is a kind of energy
Mm-hmm.
between people.
Right.
Between people, we have to open ourselves to others
Mm-hmm.
instead of protecting ourselves to avoid being hit.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Yeah.
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 We can't love our neighbor and more than we love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the importance of loving, the kind of loving and accepting ourselves as we are,
Mm-hmm.
which requires courage. Because for me, the only thing that keeps us is disconnected is fear.
Yeah.
Disconnect is fear. To exercise this connection, and we need open heart, courage to accept the others without criticism and judgment, and the connection as a result of authenticity, being
Authenticity, yes. Mhm.
authenticity, being ourselves.
Yes.
Is it's a big subject because it's important for our knowledge, knowledge, knowledge,
Knowledge.
and knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and it's necessary to the energy that exists between people when they how do I say, when they feel seen, heard, and valued,
Yes.
and valued when they can give and receive without judgment, and when there is substance and strange from relationship.
Right. So I would like to know, how did you apply that in your life this past week? Where did you use that connection?
And the relationship is a very important to for training the connection.
Yeah.
For me, the main important, when I use my heart, I open my heart for connection, the problem with the people,
Mm-hmm.
and the difficult with the people is, for me, is the most important.
Okay.
When I open my mind and I open my heart for listen the people, have a patient the people. You understand?
Yeah. So listening, patience. Very,
Yes,
She
yes,
said
yes,
really beautiful that we have to listen
yes,
without prejudice. So
yes,
you have to willing to listen,
yes,
and
not what I
it's
yes,
want to hear.
like listening is hard sometimes because
Oh yeah,
we want
yes,
to talk so
really.
much that we do more talking than listening normally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
no,
know
I
that.
and
know too. Yes.
Uh-huh.
yes, and understand what we have to do, and understand the difficult the people. Yes,
It's because sometimes we are listening to reply something, but we're not
yes,
listening to understand the others. And maybe we can feel the connection in a conversation. It's just talking
yes,
because the other people know that we are listening to them. But we are really listening, are we? So that's one of the things, because sometimes we have to be willing to listen, and maybe we have to deal with our own silence. That's the most difficult thing, especially for me. If I'm talking about me, dealing with my own silence and be shut it down,
yes,
I cannot, and you know that, Eric, that is really difficult for me. So
Yeah.
and don't have a fear, don't have a fear,
Uh-huh.
because
yeah,
the fear is the
the
most
worst enemy
yes, the enemy. Yes,
Yeah.
is the enemy.
yes,
Well,
yes,
talking about listening, I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was actually doing the TV show that I did for 2 seasons. Um, the thing for me was I had to train myself, right, to listen to people because on that show, I was actually interviewing other people. So if I was just talking the entire time, it's like, well, then it's not a dialogue, it's a monologue.
Uh-huh, exactly.
yes,
That's what I was.
Just me. I mean, which is fine, but that's not what the show was, right? The show was
Mm-hmm.
a talk show, was a conversation. And listening to people, and even like in the beginning, I wanted to create all of the questions for my guests, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, I was like, I can have some questions as a backup if I need, if
Mm-hmm.
there are like specific areas that I want to ask, yes, I will have those questions. But I will also just let the conversation flow,
Mm-hmm.
you know, from their answer, it will, if I'm listening, if I'm there.
You can escalate another questions and so on
Exactly.
and so on.
Another question will come up
Exactly.
automatically. It's just going to happen. So when I was doing that show, I was practicing a lot my listening skills.
Mm-hmm.
yes,
Practicing a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And listening without losing the track of the conversation, of course, because
Yes.
it's not the same thing in an interview that you have to focus and maybe you have to follow an special objective in the conversation, that
Right.
dealing with friends and everything, you can start in one point and end in another one. It doesn't
Yes.
matter.
Yes. Well, yeah, with the
yes,
conversation, like interviewing
That's the
somebody,
hard part. That's the hard part.
you have
Exactly.
to keep on track while also being able to let the conversation flow naturally. But it's
Spontaneously.
challenging. It's challenging, but it's a good thing. I thought that I did well, but also because trained as a life coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2013, I did this 1 year program for 12 months, so I was constantly evaluated on the skill of listening. Because when you are a coach, which I'm assuming
yes,
similar when you are a psychologist, um, you are listening most of the time, right? The other
yes,
person is talking to you. So,
yes.
yeah.
It's
And
a
one
big
of them, yeah, Sila, go ahead, Sila. Talking about listening, see? Okay, go ahead.
no, it's a big challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like I would say that in coaching, it was 90% listening and 10% me talking.
Exactly.
Yes, and it's necessary to empathy.
Be
Yes,
empathic.
to have empathy.
Eh,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
yes,
For sure. Because um, one of the things that I remember when we were going through the training was, yes, the empathy, right? Connecting with the other person, the connection that you
Yeah.
were talking about, and also being neutral, which is very, I don't know for other people, but for me,
It's difficult. For
I
me,
have
it's difficult.
thoughts, lots of feelings, lots of body sensations when people are saying
Yeah.
things to me that I
Yeah.
don't agree with. It's
Hmm.
like, but it's
Well,
like
you know,
what they say,
talking
it's
about,
not about you, it's about them. So,
but I'm going to give you some kind of tools that I use when sometimes you have a patient or somebody that you're coaching, or,
yes,
and sometimes you feel something that's transference and counter transference.
right.
And the thing is that, okay, maybe if you're feeling
Like a
that,
mirror, right?
exactly, but maybe if you're feeling transference is when sometimes you look in the mirror in the other patient, your own weakness and strength. But
Yes,
sometimes the patients make you feel something, and it's not about you, it's about them.
it's about
So
them.
maybe
It's
if you
what I
are
repeated to myself.
constantly conscious about that kind of thing, maybe you can, okay, if I'm feeling anger, because it's part of the dealing with conflict with persons and marriage and couples,
Mhm.
maybe the thing that he's doing, and maybe you can project that kind of things and work with that. And that's why it's so difficult be a coaching or being a psychologist or a therapist in general,
Yes,
because you have
Yes.
to have no bias, and it's a
no bias.
very
Yeah.
difficult thing not to
And you
have.
have to be neutral, exactly, because it's hard. We want to take sides, right? We want to be like, no, this is right or this is wrong, right?
Hmm.
And
But
when
it
you
is
are,
your
No
perception.
prejudice. No prejudice.
no prejudice, yes. And when you are
Yes.
working with people, like in that capacity as a coach or a psychologist or a therapist in general, um, you have to be in the not the black or white. You have to be in the gray. In the
Yes.
Or in
gray.
the colors,
Yes.
black, gray colors and grays. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because it's not black or white, right? Yeah.
No,
Yes.
Alrighty.
that's true.
And Ernesto, how was the week for you? Did you?
Work on my patient.
Patient. Yes.
Yeah,
A
that's
good
one of the
subject.
things. Okay, I did my exercise. I
Yeah.
don't know if I accomplished it very well, but I
Okay.
did my exercise. I did it.
What did
But one of the things, yeah, well, one of the things is that maybe this time of rushing hours always, and it's always something to do.
you? Right.
It's like, okay, maybe sometimes I use it as an excuse not to do the exercise, and sometimes I'm sabotaging myself of not accomplish something and using that as an argument. And sometimes you, okay, let me see, if for real that you have to do it right now, you can breathe, you can take a deep breath maybe for 10 seconds, and maybe willing to do something in the calm and enjoy, like the saying, well, sometimes I don't know if in this class or in the other one, like the Mongols use saying, do you remember that we have to live every single, okay, that's one of the things that I grab it and take it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if I'm watching TV, I'm watching TV. If I'm
Right.
eating, I'm eating and enjoying the meal. And I'm thinking about, after that I have to do this, and
Right.
that's one of the things that I live in the present.
Good. That's very good. That's very good. Yeah.
And I do have a patient with yourself.
Look, one of the things, it's wonderful that question. I have a
That's a
strong
great
patience
question.
with the people at work, with my friends, with my son, with my family, but with me, I'm really, really hard on myself. I
Yeah.
don't have patience with
Really?
me. Yeah,
Why?
I want everything right away. I need the results right away, every single second. So if I do want to do something, I know that, okay, tomorrow is another day. Eric know that I always brought songs into my conversation, but tomorrow is always a day away, and it's too far away from me. So I I have to do it right now. And
Wow.
I uh,
Yes.
and sometimes it's a good thing because I accomplish a lot of things being
Yeah.
like that.
Sure, you get things
But
done.
sometimes you have a stress, and sometimes you have, my skin hurts.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something with the stress and everything. I have a reaction in my skin, so I always have to be careful. Well, Freud called it like tears, tears llanto larvado de la piel. How can I make the translation of that? It's like your body's crying
Yes.
because you need an expression of the stress that they have.
Okay.
That's why you have been a psychosomatic or something.
Yeah, well, because all the illnesses are psychosomatic, right? They first
Exactly.
begin
Mm-hmm.
in the mind to then, I think the last stage would be in the actual body, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it began with the thought that you had and then it just developed. Yeah, no, I
Mm-hmm.
totally get it. Like I have psoriasis. Sila, do you know what psoriasis is? It's a
No.
skin condition. I only have it. It's very mild today. You know, it's under control because you live and you learn.
You
uh,
live, you learn. You
yes,
cry,
I
you
love that
learn.
song. So yes, it's a skin condition. It's like it's nothing serious. It's not something that people can catch. It's just psychosomatic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that began by my emotions. And I've had it since I was like 3 years old. It was the first time that my mother took me to the psychologist, and
Mm-hmm.
he said that I had psoriasis. And my psoriasis was only in places like my ankle. I used to have them when I was a child in my knees. So
And your elbows?
the
And
joints,
your elbows?
yeah,
Yes.
that's it. Those were the three places that I had: the ankles, the knees, and the ankles, and the elbows.
The elbows.
So yeah, uh, human body, parts of the human body. Yes, I was like, no, I didn't have it anywhere else. So yes, but like for example, on my knees, I haven't had them since I was like 9, 10 years old. That was the last time that I had it. And even on my elbows and my ankles, they have been very mild because I take care of it and I know how to deal with it now, right? But I totally understand because it literally showed on my skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I was too
Yeah.
stressed, if I was angry, if I was just very agitated and nervous and anxious, I would have a breakout. And I was like, oh, that's why. hmm So
Yeah.
I get it.
And
But
it's
yeah,
wonderful to see that it's in all the things that are articulated things, right? The thing that make you move.
exactly. Which is so it's like it's a perfect analogy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the knees, it's the elbows. Well, I don't
Mm-hmm.
have it in the knees, but I used to have them, right? But it's like the knees because they bend, right? You bend your knees. You can actually go down,
Mm-hmm.
go back up, right? You need
You
your
can run, you can walk.
yes, exactly.
Thanks, you're good.
Ankle
Exactly.
for support, right? To support the weight of your body. And of course, and the elbows to move your arms, right? So it's the joints, and it's like it's a beautiful analogy for my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I don't take care of it, then like what am I doing?
Today you are totally different.
Me?
Yes.
Why?
Because you accomplish that weakness. I mean, maybe Esila's trying to say
Yes.
that you
Oh, okay, okay. Today, as you mean like now, right? Now,
like today, exactly.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought like specifically today.
No, 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 no.
It's Tuesday.
That's for me. Leaving the present is for me. No, no, no.
Yes, yes, yes. No, I got it. I got it. I got it. Yeah, well, Isila, but every day I learn something, and it's a constant process for me. Like
Yes. Every day.
I feel
Everybody.
like
A constant process.
yes, I feel like for everyone we are in process, and that's why it's so beautiful in my work as a coach, for example, or even as an educator, right? As a teacher, um, it's because I don't know everything. I don't know anybody that knows everything, right?
Well,
As humans, we are always developing,
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
processing the information that we receive, and then, putting it out there from our own point of view. So for me, it's just great that, I can be 1 or 2 steps in front of my clients, right? I don't need to be 1,000 steps in front of them. which is
Yes.
something that I thought I had to be before, because coming from wanting to be a perfectionist and to be perfect, I thought, oh my goodness, I have to be 1,000, 2,000 steps in front of my clients to be a good coach, you know? And it's
To
not,
be worth it, exactly.
yeah, to be worth it. And it's not true at all. If I am 2 steps in front of them, or even one, I can teach them something, right?
Yeah.
And today, I'm like, I had to do the work to actually believe that. And today I believe that. But it took me a long time.
It's not
Yes.
easy. It's not an easy task.
No, it's
And
not.
while you're talking, I was thinking, oh my God, we have 2 psychologists and 1 coach. That's wonderful that we can talk about our weakness and we're not perfect. That's
Exactly.
one of the things that for me is incredible, to have a meeting of the 3 of us as a therapy group, and people that realize, okay, everybody can evolve. Everybody can have something they have to work on it.
Yeah, because imagine, like, we have here, right, the 3 of us, we all work with other people. We
Mm-hmm.
all deal with them, you know, we all know about the human emotions. And imagine people who have never seen a psychologist, have never seen a coach, have never wanted to look for help, professional help from somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
How hard it must be to live like that, you know, without any sort of support. Because it's great, like I feel like a lot of people, especially like my generation, I'm
Mm-hmm.
32, and I see a lot of people my age, right, they want to take care of themselves, but they're only taking care of the physical, of the outside, right,
Mm-hmm.
of the body. But I'm like, but what about your emotions? What about your mind, right? What about your
Yeah,
feeling,
your mental health is
your
important.
mental health? Because that's very important too. Because you can look great on the outside physically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But inside, in here, it can be like
A total disaster.
a total disaster, a mess.
And the worthiness change every day, every time. Our worthiness.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
totally. Because, for example, let's say if you were very attached to your physical appearance, right? And then you couldn't go to the gym because of the pandemic this year, right? So you had to stay home. So, like, are you going to be working out like a crazy person in your own house so you don't, I don't know, so you
Gain
don't
weight.
gain weight or something, you know? Or are you actually going to take that time to also explore other aspects of you and your life? I feel like if there is a silver lining, like a good thing that came out of this pandemic in 2020, is that I feel like it gave people a chance to just stop for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Is- It, it was necessary
It was
for
scary. Yeah.
the human.
Yeah, because we were going so fast every day, day after day,
Yeah.
day after day. And life is not just that, because if you don't stop and also examine yourself, I mean, I feel like that's important. And I believe that both of you also feel that it's important
Mm-hmm.
for you to examine yourself, right? And if you never do that, then it's, I think it's a waste. In
Yes.
my
Yeah,
opinion,
it's
I feel like
lots
it's,
of time. It's lots of time.
yeah, because like I have a good friend. We've known each other for over what, 16 years, 18 years, I think, at this point, or almost 18 years, since we were in high school together. And like, he won't mind me sharing this, because we're close and we're very transparent with each other. um, so like, I was at home this past Saturday, and I received a phone call from him, and it was like almost 11:30 p.m., right? 11:30 at night on a Saturday. And I was like, what's happening? And I answered the phone and I said, did something happen? And he was like, no. I mean, it did, but it's not an emergency, like nothing, life or death, nothing like that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he started talking and he shared with me that he was going through some issues with the guy that he was dating, that he was seeing. But immediately, because I've known him for such a long time, right? I also went through my mind and I was like, this sounds like every other person that came before this one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So I wanted to help him understand the pattern, right?
The compulsion of the parent.
Exactly, because that's what happens. Like, and I am not, saying this to put him down. I'm saying that as humans, if we don't stop, we will repeat the same mistakes until we learn the lesson. And, life will bring us more opportunities
And it
over and over and over again to learn the lesson until we learn the lesson. So it's just, so you have to stop, right? Because I just did an exercise with him without even thinking about it. I was just like, so if I told you, like I was asking him, right? If I told you what you just told me, what would you tell me? Because I wanted him to step away from the situation for a moment and see the situation from a new perspective, right? So
Yes.
what would you tell me? And he was like, yeah, that this person doesn't care about you at all and that this person was using you. And I was like,
Really? Really?
he said that. He finally, I was so
Said it.
happy because I've known him for such a long time, but he finally got it. But it was because he had to stop and breathe, right? And think about it and put himself outside of that situation, because that's what we have to do sometimes. We have to take ourselves
Yes.
out of the situation and look at it from a distance
Yes.
In
without,
another perspective.
right? So when he did that, he realized that, one, this new person, this new guy, was just like the other ones, right? He was just repeating. Same situation, different people. Okay, but the situation was still the same, right? And he realized that he had to do something about it and that he had to see the red flags, right? Because there are always signs. There are always,
And
when you
and
are,
why he choose that kind of thing.
when you
That's
are
the stereotype that he followed. Exactly.
exactly, when
Yes.
you are paying attention, you can see the red flags, you can see the signs. So I was very happy. I was very happy for him because I was like, this is what you should do from now on. Don't fall for these same situation just because it looks different, right? Because it's a new
It
person.
looks different outside, but it's the
Outside.
same thing inside.
Exactly.
This is a good subject for boundaries.
Exactly.
Boundaries.
Yeah,
Boundaries.
and just to, without getting into many details, but basically, like, this person was in another country, right? And my friend is in the United States. So
Okay.
it's like they hadn't even seen each other, right?
Okay.
Face to face because of the pandemic, right? So,
Yes.
and I was like, is it worth it? All this suffering, all of this, it's not. It's not. It's just
Yes.
not. But he got it, and I was happy. I was happy for him because I wanted to help him because it hurts when you see a friend, somebody that you know for a long time, in a situation like that, and you see that it's a repeat of previous situations,
Yes.
right? But they need to want to change. right? And I
Hmm.
think my friend right now, he realized that he has, in order for the man that he attracts into his life to change, he has to change.
That's the
Do you
most important.
talk about him about this behavior?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Do you talk about him with him about the his behavior?
I
The
have, like, Isila, I have talked to him before. Like, we are very honest with each other. I
repeat the
But I think now, I think he just got to the point that, because usually that this is what happens, right? When we
yes,
finally get like really tired, exhausted
yes,
from
yes,
a situation, and then we make a change, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it takes many years for us to get to this point. So
Because sometimes you can be conscious and realize what are the things that you're doing, but you don't know what is happening on your unconscious.
yes,
So that's one of the things. I'm more a psychoanalytic
right,
perspective type therapist, but you have to work on the things that are really inside. And we were talking at the beginning, everything happened in your childhood. So if you
exactly.
don't know why did you learn that kind of things, why you are programming your brain like that, you don't,
I
you're never going to
totally
change.
agree with you, Ernesto. And I have told him, to look for professional help, because I'm his friend. I cannot be his coach, his life
Mhm.
coach, right? I cannot
You
work
have
with,
a bias.
because I already have
Even
a bias. I met him when we were both 14 years old. So it's
mhm,
like, it wouldn't work. It's unethical for me to work with him. But I have told
yeah.
him to look for a professional, because I know that the key,
Mhm.
for all of us, right, to unlock the things that stop us in life is in our childhood. So we have to go back and we have to look at those things.
But
And
Esila said something that maybe fear is one of the things that it doesn't
yes,
make you be progressive, right? And
yeah,
that Pandora's box that you're going to unlock, sometimes you have to be afraid of that because you don't know what you're going to get,
oh yeah,
and you don't know what you're going to find out. Maybe some memory that you want to erase forever are going to be once again on the table.
yeah, it's true. I mean, just the other day, like, I even in thinking about my own life and my own behaviors, right, from the time that I was like a child and then a teenager, um, I see patterns and I see things that I'm afraid of, that to this day, right, they can stop me from doing something, right?
Hmm.
Right now, I'm much better because I am conscious and I know exactly why I'm not doing
I'm doing.
something, for example.
Hmm.
But it's hard.
because you yes, because you looking for and you walk in this problem inside.
Yeah, definitely. And so with him, with my friend, all I could do was like, uh, put him in the direction of just look at the situation from a new perspective, right? And I just repeated everything he said to me back to him, right? And I
Hmm.
was
Yes,
like, if we flipped the our right, like our situations, if it was happening to me, what would you say? And then he was able to realize that,
Hmm.
like, yeah, you're
Make up a
right.
mistake. Hmm.
Yeah, like, it was a mistake. It's you're right. And I didn't do that to get that answer from him, like, you're right. I don't care about being right. I just care about my friend, right?
Hmm.
So, and but yeah, so it was good. And even being able to do that for people is something that I'm proud of, because I have worked on myself a lot.
Hmm.
I was like
yes,
17 years old was when I really, really began to do this type of like work. And then I worked with a psychologist for many years. I had two psychologists. My first psychologist was a woman, and then I moved. So I was looking for another one, and I had another psychologist, a man this time, that worked with me for 3.5 years. So plus the coaching training program, which was 1 year of my life. And it was very good, but very intense and very painful too.
Perfect. But
Painful. You said it.
It's painful. Yes.
and almost people have a resistance, natural resistance for work inside the difficulties, problems.
Yeah.
Why I have to go to a psychologist? I'm not crazy. I know what I have.
Oh,
I know
that's
what that's the common thing that people say.
my biological father that I don't have a relationship with anymore. Um, he actually, that was like his thing. He would say, "I'm not going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm not crazy." And there's the stigma, right? That you need a psychologist because you are crazy. Like all of us are crazy.
Or
Everybody's
because you have a problem. And I always said, if you go to a dentist, you don't go because you have a cavity. You go because you need a checkout. Okay, you don't know how's your hygiene. It's the same thing in the mental health.
and to
Yeah,
prevent that cavity from happening, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like it's prevention work, which is good for anything, right? When you prevent, when you do the prevention work, then you don't have to deal with that thing because you are already taking the steps to prevent that thing from happening.
Like your
yeah,
common checkout every time that you take the blood, every time that you go to a dentist, so it's because you need to see how you are. It's the
Exactly.
same thing happen with a therapist, being a
Exactly.
coach, a psychiatrist, or psychologist.
So,
it's not fair for everybody.
mhm,
It
It helps
depends
everybody.
on depends on
everyone.
the problem, the teenage problem. It depends.
Yeah, everybody. And I feel like,
Everybody needs the psychologist
mhm,
to talk about your things, about your problems. It's important for everybody.
And
exactly.
Estila, Eric said something. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No, no,
you
go ahead.
said something that is really important. That you always want to be 10 steps ahead of your patient or your client, or you have to know everything. That's one of the things that this book learn know how to do it, because you cannot be perfect. You don't know all the answers exactly. That's one of the things that is important. And maybe
Yes,
I realize, because all psychologists have to be to go to a psychologist. If they say that they don't need it, imagine how how professional could be, no? But
Right.
the thing is, exactly. But the thing is that when you say painful, and I remember, and just an story that I have, when I go out from the session that I had with my therapist, I was so shocked that I have to sit down in the car and start crying and crying and crying. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. And
yes,
then, okay, I feel relief that it was so painful that sometimes I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
That's the most common thing. I don't want to go back. I don't want
yeah,
to see her again. And it's wonderful how the things, because you were talking about your friend and how the parents repeat themselves. I always
yes,
have patients like my mom. Patients, no, therapists like my mom.
Yeah.
Even in the way that they behave and everything, they're really protective. And no, I'm going to change. And I changed to a male guy. And I was talking about my old therapist. And they say, why did you change? Because she is beautiful, but she's really protective. And thinking, okay, before you continue, she's my wife.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't know that. And it is okay, Oedipus complex all around me.
Oh
And I
my.
didn't know that. That's, that's one of the things that unconscious you do.
Yeah.
yeah. Repeat
Exactly.
the
Repeat the pattern.
yes,
Exactly.
Oh, totally. Like, for example, like I said, I had two therapists as an adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two psychologists, I should say. And my first psychologist, she was a child psychologist. I started seeing her when I was, I believe, 8 years old, 7 or 8, around there. And she was very helpful, and she pretty much treated me in a way that a mother would treat a child, right? Her own
Mm-hmm.
child. And it was very nice because I remember she was a very gentle person. She was like, she never forced me to do or talk about anything. Um, but I remember one way that she would get me to talk was just like while I was drawing
Plain, exactly.
and playing, and then
Yes.
she would talk to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it would be so nice,
Natural.
natural,
Natural.
and it was very nice to have somebody at that point in my life, because at that point my mother was with another man who was not my biological father, so I had a stepfather, and he was a very typical like South American macho guy.
Macho man.
Yes. And yeah, and it was very hard because I was always somebody that liked the arts. I always liked music. I always liked things like drawing. And I remember this, fast forward many years, right? And I'm with my psychologist up in Connecticut. And I am what, 30, 29, 30 years old. And I'm talking to my psychologist, and I said, yeah, and I stopped drawing and I stopped painting or like coloring using the colored pencils around the time that something happened, because I had brought this kit, which was like a coloring and drawing kit from my school to my house, right? And they were selling it at the school, and I brought it home, and he was like, I'm not going to pay for that. And I was so embarrassed about that I tried to return this coloring kit and drawing kit the next day at the school, but they wouldn't take it back. So I ended up having to have my mother pay for that and ask me if I ever used that drawing and coloring kit. No. And after that event, I stopped drawing and stopped coloring completely, to the point that nowadays all that I can draw, it's like the little sticks.
Circle and the sticks.
Yes, and the sticks like for the arms and for the legs. I can't draw anything. And then in talking to my psychologist as an adult, like 30 years old, 29, 30 years old, I connected that that was such a traumatic experience for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he looked down on anything that had to do with the arts, on anything that wasn't considered quote unquote macho, right?
Mm-hmm.
For man, that man had to do, real man.
Mm-hmm.
That I completely blocked that from my mind, and I never enjoyed doing those activities again. And then it was my psychologist and talking to him. But if I didn't do the work, I wouldn't connect these two things,
Exactly.
you know? And
Yeah.
nowadays, I kid you not, look at this.
I have colors.
Do you see? I have colored pencils. I have here crayons.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And you said at the beginning, not your life is not only black and white. You have
Exactly.
to add a lot of grays, and I add a lot of colors. And look how we almost finishing the session like that. It's like you
So,
have to put everything in colors.
so it's wonderful. So yes, it's painful. And at the same time, it's going to be so liberating, because
Yes.
you're going to feel so
Because you have a conscience.
yes.
This situation, all situation in your life is because you have a conscience,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and it's necessary you continue the therapy, because therapy is important for everybody.
For everybody. Everybody.
You know, when my
I
patient
love it
said
so
that
much.
the therapy is for everything, it's like I need my oil change.
My oil
Means
change.
that
Like a car.
sometimes, once in a while, we have to renew our sessions just for a little while, and then okay, let go. It's
Yes.
not healthy to have a patient forever, but it's just certain times in life that maybe the
Yeah.
oil change. I love that expression. Okay, I'm here for my
Yeah.
oil
Yes.
change.
I always look for a way to be connected. For example, right now I don't have a psychologist, right? Because my psychologist, my wonderful psychologist, is up in Connecticut. So, and he doesn't do online.
Mm.
So what I have is I found someone that I talk to once a month. So at least I keep this conversation going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like all the work that I did with those two psychologists, one in New York and the other in Connecticut, for years, I have to continue because every time that I talk to a therapist or a psychologist, I see things and I realize things in a deeper way, and it makes me just more me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Makes me
Yes.
connect more with my essence.
Yes.
Yourself being.
I
Mm-hmm.
never stopped my therapy.
Hmm.
I never stopped in my life.
I
Never.
will always have something. I don't see myself stopping. I will always have something, even if it's not every week, like going to a psychologist like I used to, at least once a month or once every 2 weeks if I need
Yeah.
to make it
At
a
the
little more
beginning, three times
intense.
a week.
Yes.
At the beginning, it's like that, 3 times a week. In my case, it was like that.
Yes, 3 times a week. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had it like I
Yeah.
was going every week. I remember for the beginning, I was going every week because I started with my psychologist. This is in New York, right? The first
Mm-hmm.
one. I started with her because I was going through the coach training program and it was so intense and there was so much coming up, right? About my past, my childhood. And I said, I need to talk to somebody. I need to talk to somebody because it's too much. I am reliving these chapters from my childhood, and coaching, it's different from psychologists because
Mm-hmm.
psychologists will work with you from like childhood until where you are
Yes.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And coaching is about a goal, an objective, right? So
Yes.
That
from
you want to
now
accomplish.
to the future to accomplish something.
Mm-hmm.
So they are different, but they are complementary, right?
Yes.
Totally
They go
complementary.
hand in hand. Exactly.
Yes. So for me,
Walking together.
Mm-hmm.
yes. So for me, I said, okay, so I had a coach working with me every week. They were evaluating me every week, and I was having my coaching session with them. And I was like, but what about the other stuff from the past? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I need a psychologist. So I found one, and she was great. And I think the first time I went to her, I pretty much cried the whole session. And after we finished the session,
It happens. It happens.
my first session, she must have been like, what's going on? But I was like, I'm sure she has seen other patients like me before.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course, for sure. When
Wonderful.
Yeah.
and you know that I love about this session is that we cover all the shame worthy
Yeah.
chapter. It's like sometimes you have to, I don't know, maybe have to embrace the chapter and apply to yourself, and
Yeah.
maybe talking about that kind of exercise and talking about your life and the things.
Yeah.
And while you were talking, I said, oh my God, we covered it. We covered this. Oh, this is the best example. And we don't have to use the same examples in the book. We
Yes.
can talk about everything. And the
Yeah.
people that will listen will understand that, okay, I need to analyze some things about my past to understand my present.
To understand my present, which is, I'm like, I can't say that enough. You have to analyze your past to understand your present, like why you do the things you do right now, right? You have to go back. And people sometimes are like, why do I have to go back? That's in the past. But I'm like, but that's because it's formative, right? Your childhood, your teenage years, when you are a young adult. It's formative. It's all building,
Everybody.
right? It's like
Everybody.
if you use like pieces of Legos, right?
Uh-huh.
Like building on top of the other, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yes, you are now, like I can say I'm Eric at 32 right now, age 32, but I'm also Eric at age 10 and
Mm-hmm.
15 and 5. I'm all, I
All
didn't start my
together.
life today. I started my life 32 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And it's always there.
Yeah. So
Didn't
it's always
erase.
there. It's
Everybody has a problem in the teenage and childhood.
yeah,
Everybody.
everybody. And it's what's beautiful is I just did I was writing a column. I write a column for a newspaper, and I send it out every month, right? And I've been doing that for 5 years now, since May 2015. And I sent them my column for August that they're going to publish in August. And I was like, what do I want to say, like now, in this moment, right? Because I felt that before, and before reading this book, before like meeting Brené Brown, well, not in person. I hope that someday I meet her in person. um, but knowing about her, right? I, like I mentioned, I remember my professor in college, my psychologist professor. She showed us the TED Talk 9 years ago, right? And it was such an important TED Talk for me, important video, that I came out of the closet like pretty soon after that. So I was like, what do I want to say in my column for August? And I was trying to come up with something that represented me as I am right now. Like after doing all the work, after reading things like this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
After um, all these years of, self-development and doing the work inside of me, all the emotions, working through all of that. And I came to the conclusion that I wanted to talk about something that was important to me and that I felt was that maybe some people could see as not what I should talk about. But I was like, okay, but I mean, I'm reading this book and like I'm listening to things, and everybody's telling me to be courageous, right? To
Mm-hmm.
let go of the perfectionism, to let go of what other people think about me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's much more important to me right now that I feel at peace with me, much more than what other people that don't know me are going to say about me. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I decided to talk about activism. Activism, like
Shocking. Coming from you, I never realized that kind of thing.
I was
But
like,
it's
yes, I was like, political activism, social activism, right? Movements, social justice, equality.
quality. I knew
Yes.
it. Exactly.
So I was like, I have to talk about this. And I don't care if the editor, like writes me back and says, Eric, I don't think that's going to work. If she says that's not going to work, then it's fine. I had a good 5-year run.
Mm-hmm.
So I was willing to be like, if it's a little bit controversial, I don't care. If it's like polemic, I don't care. I'm going to talk about that. So
Is what I want to express. So
it's what I want to express, because the column is about well-being, right?
mm-hmm.
Well-being. And I was like, but this is part of my well-being right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be honest. Otherwise, I'm just being, pretending and I don't want to pretend to be
That
that
is guys.
person.
Exactly.
So
You're a character and you're not
exactly,
you.
I'm like in a movie or a television show,
Mhm.
and that's not what I want. And I was very proud of the column that I wrote. I
Mhm.
feel like it's personal and it's real because it's authentic, right? And
Right.
I was like, I really appreciate that I have arrived in this point in my life because I didn't care. She hasn't written anything back, and I don't think she will. I think they're going to run the column, but it's fine if they didn't. Um, so yeah, so
Yes.
it was important for me to get to this point, right? And it's because of things like this, like our conversation that we have here. It's because, things like this book. It's because of all the change that we are seeing around the world, this pandemic, which is something that I never saw in my life. Okay.
Mhm.
So like all of this, and I said, I can't pretend that like, oh my gosh, the world is perfect outside, because it's not.
No,
That's
never,
not real.
There's a lot of
never,
work to do.
never.
A lot of work to do. Like I have to keep working on myself, and there's a lot of things that I can help, right,
Mhm.
with the outside
Right.
world, especially when it comes to equality, especially when it comes, like I said, to activism, like social activism, political activism. Um,
Yes.
I mentioned in my column, I mentioned the documentary that we watched in our class, Ernesto,
Mhm.
about the disabilities, right?
Mhm.
Because it's just celebrated 30 years that they passed the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Mhm.
I talked about United States representative who just died also, who worked with a lot of people from the civil rights movement, including Martin Luther King Jr., right? To bring
Mhm.
rights to Black Americans, to give them the right to vote. So I was like, I need to talk about this because this is what's happening right here, right now.
And that's why he touched you. So
Yes.
that's
And
why.
I was like, I'm so happy that I got to this point, that I was able to
Yes.
fully express myself.
It's necessary a few days to talk about
Yeah.
this subject.
Well,
Mhm.
Very good subject.
it was just a
Yes,
column, but I did
yes.
my best. Like,
Where we can read that column?
I will send you the link. It's
Okay,
online.
perfect.
Yes, it's online. They haven't published the one for August yet because they
Okay.
will publish it,
All the pandemic
in
situation.
like
Yeah.
in like 2 weeks. But I will, when it's online, I will send you both the link
Okay.
so you can read it.
Perfect. I
Yeah,
will love that.
yeah.
Perfect.
It's yeah, it's something that I was like, I have to show them like who I am, because like in my coaching, what I do is I help people who are hiding behind perfectionism, right? People who
Mhm.
want to
Right.
be perfect, but they now see that being perfect is
It's
not,
a disability.
it's a disability. Yes, exactly. And they see that that version of perfect is not good because it's not doing good for their lives. So
Mhm.
this is the people that I help, right? Because I was in their shoes, and I have learned. I feel like I'm at least 5 to 10 steps ahead in that sense. So yeah, so I was like, well, if I don't want to hide behind perfectionism anymore, then I have to be real. And if I'm writing these columns for the newspaper, I have to be real in my column, just like I'm real, when I'm in the classroom teaching, just like I'm real right now when I'm talking to both of you and with my friends and with my family, you know?
Be open. Mhm.
Yeah, just be open, because at the end of the day, the people that matter don't care.
Yeah.
Just the people that don't matter,
Mhm.
right? Because like if a stranger writes a comment on the internet about me, somebody that I never saw in my life, like, okay,
It's your opinion. I respect it.
yeah,
I disagree, but okay, go ahead.
I mean, like, what can I do, right?
I cannot change it exactly,
I can control that person, you know.
and I'm not going to invest my time arguing why you have to think differently. Exactly.
No, and that's the thing, and I have been learning this, and my my boyfriend's mother said to me just the other day on yesterday was Monday. Yesterday, she said to me, I see you as a politician. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know. I told her I see myself, you know, like I have thought about running for office, like as a politician. But lately, the more I investigate, I see myself more as an activist, right, than a politician, right?
If you made a comparison with the United Nations, you will be an NGO. Exactly.
Yeah, because I feel like there are a lot of things that I care about, and like
Mhm.
social justice is one of them, for example, and helping people, right, and seeing people like taking care of their mental health because I see how important this is. I had a grandmother who died in 2014. She was bipolar, and my mom's mom, and on my father's side, my biological father was also diagnosed as bipolar. So I have seen it on both sides of my family, and I know how important it is to take care of mental health. I have seen it, you know, close, how important it is.
Mhm.
So it's yeah, it's something that we need to talk more about and take out the stigma, because more people need help than we are helping right now. And if we help more people, we will
We want to
have
have a better world. Exactly.
better world and better communities and people
A
that
better society.
stronger.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like it's a ripple effect, right? Less
Mhm.
violence, more empathy, more compassion.
True.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that we didn't get to go over the book.
We cover, if you see all the
I think so.
belongings
I
and
think like we
communication
covered
connection.
a lot. Yes. A lot of the things that she talks about here in the book we did cover today. We just didn't read from the book, but we were talking about our own
Mhm.
personal, right, experience.
Perceptions about the things. Exactly.
Yeah. So, but I promise that next week we will go back and we will read some more from the book. I think Ernesto has finished the book, right?
Yeah.
I haven't finished it yet. Isila, what part of the
No,
book?
I haven't finished yet.
Okay. What part are you in right now?
Uh, chapter 4.
Okay, 4. All right.
I stop in 4. Chapter 4.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so let's just continue reading. I will post on the group the
Mhm.
next pages, so we will just continue where we
Okay.
stopped. And yes, I mean, this was a great meeting. Even though it's just the three of us, I feel like it was very good.
And it was longer than the other one, so.
It was like, if
And
you can believe it.
next week is Monday. Will
So
be
I will ask in the group if they can do Monday, if Ivani and Musi can do Monday, because then we will change to Monday, because at least we will have 5 instead of just the three of us.
Mhm.
Okay.
And maybe
Perfect.
Sophia will be able to join us, and
Mhm.
other people might be able to join us. There's Rafael said he was going to join us this week, and one more person, I think his name
Bruno.
Bruno. Yes, said he was going to join us next week. So maybe they can join us. If
Mhm.
everybody
Yes,
joins, these people, it would be 7. So yes.
yes,
Perfect.
good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
the enthusiasm that Sila has. Yeah, good, perfect. That's the motivation that we need.
Yes. We definitely need it. Yes. It's
Good,
good.
good.
So what are we working on before we go for next week? What are you going to work on for next week? What's your intention?
Oh my God. Okay, ladies first. Sila, your turn.
Next week,
Yeah, what are you going to work? Give me time to think. I don't know. Let
Yeah,
me.
what are you going to work for, the next days until our next meeting?
I
Because
don't know.
you
No
worked
idea.
on you worked on compassion, right? No,
Connection.
connection, sorry, not compassion, connection.
No, maybe boundaries.
Boundaries. Good. Good, good, good.
Boundaries. Boundaries are good subject.
Okay. So
I
work
love
on boundaries.
for me, for other people, it's very important for me.
All right. So boundaries will be what you're working on for tomorrow. Oh, not for tomorrow, for next week, next meeting.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
And Ernesto, do you have any idea what you're going to work on?
The thing is that my teacher this morning gave me a presentation for tomorrow to talk about intelligence, emotional intelligence, and other things. I don't know if you know the teacher, but the thing is that maybe if we can combine the emotional intelligence and knowledge, because I'm always willing to have more knowledge than
Right.
emotional intelligence.
Okay.
For example, I always want to read more books. I always want to have all the things that the people are talking, all the dates, all the names, that's only knowledge, but it's not emotional intelligence. So
Yes.
make me think why I'm more willing to have IQ higher than the rest of the people, only in knowledge, but not in the emotional intelligence
Right.
that I have. But I don't like to work on that, or I don't give it the proper strengths on that. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Just babbling around. I don't know. It just make me think about.
Yeah, I get it. I get what you're what you're saying, because for me too, I feel like I read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always read books, but I always read like articles that I find online, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they're big articles. They're like few pages long. But I don't really practice applying that knowledge to my life. So it's just more information, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get what you're saying. So yeah, maybe I will also work on that this week. Like putting to practice the things
Exactly.
that
Put
I
into practice the knowledge that you have that you already read, but you apply for somebody else. You never apply to yourself.
exactly. Yeah. And also sharing with other people, because for example, even when I was talking about my friend, right? I put a knowledge that I had in practice at that moment without even realizing it,
You did
right?
it unconscious. Yeah.
I did it. Yeah, it was not something that I was planning, because I didn't expect a call at like 11:30 on a Saturday night. Um, but yeah, you're right. So I'm going to practice that too. I'm going to practice applying the knowledge that I have into
Personal life.
my personal life. Yes, and
Perfect.
sharing it with other people. Let's see what
Now
happens.
you realize why I say that tomorrow 5 minutes is not enough, right? I know that you're going to mute myself.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Well, it's only 5 minutes,
I
Ernesto.
know, I
Everybody
know,
will
I know.
have 5 minutes.
Okay, I know.
All
I,
righty.
I need to stop because the hostel calling me.
Okay,
The,
no
the,
problem, Esila. We're finishing.
We're finished.
So let's just take a beautiful picture here before we go, and then we can say goodbye and have a good night. Hold on. Let's just do this.
Smile, Sila.
Beautiful. Love it.
Perfect.
It was very nice. All right.
see
Thank
you
you
next
Okay.
so much,
week,
everybody.
Monday or
Tuesday.
Or
Thursday
Tuesday?
or Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I
Not
will
the
let
And I
fourth.
see.
everybody know. I will ask everyone, and I will announce in the group. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye. Have a
everyone.
wonderful night. Bye.
Thank you
too.
for the patience you have
With
with
us.
me.
Yes, and thank you for also being here and for listening.
You're
Very good.
welcome.
Very good, Eric.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
I love listening people.
Okay. Well, that's good, and I love to talk. Yeah, so it works. All right, everybody. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
Next week.
See
Bye.
you next week.